Okay, everybody's rolling in. It's good to see everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Most of you know the drill. We're going to be about 3 minutes in before we start. But if anybody wants to talk about a win or how maybe they currently use AI for the next couple of minutes, anybody use it for something really business changing currently? I know I've seen a lot of chat GPT images lately on our members page. All right. Who's ready for some AI? It's going to be AI tricks to use AI to know your numbers. That's what we're focusing on today. And the lovely Miss Cindy Alexander is doing the
Yeah,
training.
I'm going to be walking you through just a couple of tricks that might help you understand and get clarity and know what actions to take um, by using AI. So I'm excited to share some of these tips and tricks with you. They're not certainly not like super technical or way advanced, but it might give you some shortcuts to clarity and insights that you don't necessarily have on your own. So we'll jump in whenever you think I should get started.
We have a few more people
Anybody?
hopping in.
Okay.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay, no, no problem. I'm not sure like when exactly to dive into the topic. Um, You said normally about 3 after, so we're about 2 after. So I will just
Mm-hmm.
jump in here and introduce myself just in case anybody doesn't know me. I think most people that are on this call do. I'm Cindy Alexander. I am Brian's partner and have been in childcare for over 30 years. The last 10 or so, I've been working as a consultant and a marketer and just kind of like the behind the scenes tech person for a couple of different coaching companies. I love working with childcare leaders. I love working with Brian and Childcare Genius. And I love that so many of my friends are on this call. So today, um, we're going to be using, I'm going to show you just kind of how to use AI in a little bit of a different way. I do know that a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people using AI and like doing the fun images things that you see on social media. And that's a really fun thing to do. And it is a great way to get some attention online because some of those images kind of like they're really cutesy or, like eh, it's really cool the way that they're made to look just like you or, they have a cool effect to them. And that's all good. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's kind of an extra. It's these AI image creations. It's a nice to have. It's a fun to have. Might get you a little bit more engagement or a little bit more clicks on social, but it's not really practical in a way that's going to translate into actions that you can take. And so my thought for today is to get you to use AI for more than the fun things that we're seeing AI doing. Get you to maybe use AI to help you analyze things or make decisions. So I'm going to put in the chat um, a link to a document that you should all open up, and I will share my screen. And Faith, if you could,
Yep.
as people are joining, just repost that link so they have it as we're talking.
Got it.
And
Yep.
I've got the main thing that we're going to do today is to use AI how to read your P&L in plain English, basically, and find profit leaks fast and get recommendations on, how to fix those profit links. And so that's going to be on this Know Your Numbers tab over on the side. And then if we have time, we'll go into another financial topic using AI, but it's basically some guidance on how to increase your tuition and communicate that with families. Okay, so these worksheets will guide you through the process. Now, on the very first page, I will note that this should be a read-only document or a view-only document. So when you get it, you're going to need to make a copy. You just click File over here, make yourself a copy. You have to be logged into Google in order to make a copy. So if it's not letting you make a copy, download should be an option for you, and you can download it as a Word document. Okay, so you'll have access to it either way, and it will be your own working copy. This page is just a cover page, and then we're going to get into the Know Your Numbers section. But a lot of times owners, and there might be some directors on the call, I'm not sure, because you're all small and off to the side in my view. You're seeing my screen, right? Right, Faith? Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for shaking your head. But sometimes you might need to analyze finances, or you might need to analyze a budget for a certain program, or you might need to just analyze metrics of some kind. And this exercise is meant to give you an example of how to do that and maybe get you to think outside the box that you could apply this to other areas, not just your P&L, but we're going to use P&L right now. Okay. And so what we're going to do is if you do have your own P&L available, like if you use QuickBooks and you feel like it's up to date, you can grab your own numbers. I'll give you some time when we have our little pause breaks for the work time. I'll give you time, to grab your own numbers, but I do have some sample simplified P&L type info in here that we can use to go through the exercise, and then you could go through the exercise again later when you have more time to dig into your own numbers. Okay. Um, so let's see. A lot of times financial information is just mumbo jumbo. It's like it sits there, like you look at your P&L, you know what's in there, but you don't really ever like go over it and analyze it. You don't have time to translate it. And today, what I want to do is show you how to use AI to um, figure out what you're spending, what you're keeping, and if your profit is healthy, or if there's a certain area that's glaring that you could make some changes to. Um, Going over time. So we're going to use AI like a financial assistant. It is not, it is not an accountant. It is not a tax advisor. Okay. And neither am I. So that is the disclaimer, but it might give you some insight and give you some ideas to what you should ask your accountant, what you should ask your tax advisor. Okay. Um, so the very first thing that you need to know is if you do use your own information in the P&L, if you do this exercise with your own information, whether you do it now or you do it later, you're going to want to anonymize that. Okay, so don't enter any information into ChatGPT, and that's the tool we're going to use. If you don't have ChatGPT, go ahead and open it on a screen. And you can get a free account if you don't have it, or if you might want to use like Bing has one or Google has Gemini. There are different AIs that you can use. I like ChatGPT. So that's the one that I'm going to use. But open up your favorite AI tool, okay? But before we enter any information into that, you want to anonymize it. You don't want your tax ID number. You don't want any children's names. You don't want any business identifying information, because that information can become part of like the big just intelligence that AI keeps track of. Anything that's entered into it, it keeps it somehow, some way, and you don't want your information to accidentally get shared somewhere else. So it's only categories and numbers. Okay. And we're going to pick a time period, and we're going to analyze some information. So if we click onto the Know Your Numbers tab in the document I shared, our first step is that we are going to look at a P&L, and I'm going to just scroll to show you. At the bottom of this document, there are three or four different colors of a sample P&L. So here's a blue sample, then there's a green sample, and there's a purple sample, and it's like a rust or brown colored sample. Each of these sample P&Ls, they're very simplified. They tell a different story. Okay. The numbers tell a different story, and AI will give you different answers. Okay. So I'm providing some sample data that we can use in this exercise, so that way you can get the hang of doing it. So the first sample or the first activity is to choose your period and your baseline numbers. Now, if you're going over this with your own P&L, you pull the numbers from that. And if you are going over it with a sample P&L, you would read the P&L below and say, okay, what is the total revenue, the top line revenue? So if I scroll down and I use one of these samples, the total revenue is 453,000 and the total expenses are 362 and the net profit was 98,600 and the profit margin was 20. So these are the type, that's where I would get the information to kind of plug in here. And then you can find your net profit margin and direct costs. So this is really a worksheet to have you know like your basic top line big numbers for whatever time period you're working with. Okay, you don't want to compare annual revenue to a monthly or quarterly revenue to annual. Okay, so pick your time period and make sure your numbers match when you plug them in down here. And then again, make your numbers AI safe. So I put this in red so that way it would uh, be very apparent. I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. That you don't want to share your business name, your EIN, your payroll provider, bank info, employee names, parent or child names, any identifying notes or memo lines. Because with a QuickBooks P&L, you can click in and click in and click in. Like if you're clicking into payroll, you can click into each expense that is covered in payroll, whether it's wages or taxes or workman's comp, all of those different things. So sometimes when you open up all of those subcategories, identifying information is in there. You only need the top line numbers. You just want categories. So it would look something like this: tuition, registration fees, other income, expenses, supplies, utilities, marketing, repairs, all of that. So it's going to be very, very basic info that we'll put in. So it might take a little bit of analyzing. And then we're going to dive into our first activity. So let me explain the first activity, and you can choose whether or not you're going to go pull your own numbers when we have our quiet time, or if you're going to use some of the sample numbers. And I do want you guys to do the activity, even if you're only using the sample numbers, so you can go through the process. And I'm going to ask for some sharing of what AI is telling you when you plug this stuff in. So the first thing you need is your numbers above. Then you're going to copy and paste this prompt into ChatGPT. And the prompt is just this part right here, okay? You'll notice there's two little parts in red. So you need to tell ChatGPT, act like a CFO for a childcare business. Here is my simplified P&L for the time period. So it's for, the first quarter of 2026, or it's for all of 2025, or it's for the month of January, okay? So tell it the time period, and then it's going to take these actions. Summarize the story of the P&L in plain English in 10 bullet points. Tell me what looks healthy, tell me what looks concerning, and ask me 5 clarifying questions that you would ask an owner. Here are the numbers, and then you paste in that P&L. A helpful output from your AI, I'm hoping it's ChatGPT or Gemini, or forget the one that Bing is called. But anyway, the AI, and it's going to tell you what's driving revenue, what the biggest expense categories are, flag unusual ratios or categories that feel high for a childcare model, and it was going to ask you smart follow-up questions. If your output is vague, you can add some clarifying information, and you can answer the questions that AI asks you as part of the output. Because remember, we asked AI to summarize everything, tell me what looks good, tell me what looks bad, and ask me some questions so I can give you some more information. Okay, so we asked it to ask us some questions. So you should answer those questions. And if you're using sample data, make up sample answers, okay? So that way you can see how this interaction with AI is going to work. So we're gonna pause, and I'm gonna put like 5 minutes on the clock for you to go through this exercise. It's gonna be quiet. But if you have a question or you're not sure what to do, please unmute and speak up because I want to make sure that I guide you through it. So what I'm going to do right now on the screen is I'm going to do this. I'm going to copy this up until the red line. I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to just grab some sample data because I want to go through this as well. And I'll show you how it works. So I go to ChatGPT, and first I'm going to paste in my prompts, and then I'm going to replace the fields that ChatGPT needs. So I'm gonna call this first quarter of 2026 sample data. And then I'm going to paste, I'm gonna replace that and paste my sample P&L and see what it spits out. So very quickly, it's going to tell me some stuff in plain English. So I'm going to skip showing you what it says, and I'm going to pause. This is hard for me to be quiet. So I'm going to pause. I'm going to mute myself. We're going to give 5 minutes for you guys to do this activity on your own, and then I'm going to ask you guys some questions about the output. Okay? Don't move on to the second prompt yet, because I'd like to go through this together, if that's okay. Does anything seem unclear? Does anybody have a question before I pause? Okay, we're good to go. All right, I'm going to be quiet. 5 minutes, and then we'll come back to the next part. And we're about halfway-ish, 2.5 minutes or so in. So we have about 2.5 more minutes. And then I will be checking in for some. I am going to pop in and see where we're at as far as time. Does anybody need more time to read or answer the questions of the output that they got? More time? I'm seeing Charlotte needs a little bit more. Anybody else? Liz, I can see you. You need a little bit more? Okay. I'm gonna put 3 more minutes on the clock to continue this part of the project, and then we'll move on to the next one. Okay, so about 3 more minutes. Okay, I am gonna start talking again just for sake of time, to move on to the discussing this. So, I'm looking for a volunteer or two, and I'm gonna stop sharing just so I can see you guys, and I'll share again in just a second. So, I would like to hear from, did anybody use their own numbers or did everybody use sample numbers? Hafter, you used your own numbers? Did you don't have to divulge anything, secret, but like, did it give you any good insight? Did it prompt you with some kind of questions or something to look at? What was the feedback you received?
Um, I got to switch back over to it. Hold on a second.
Yeah, no problem.
Now, where did I put it? I love it. Okay. So I actually just uploaded my P&L as a download, so I didn't have to
Mhm.
manually put everything in, and it read
Okay,
it.
yeah.
Okay, so it says so what looks healthy? My labor is 45% of revenue. My rent is under 4%, which is excellent, it says. Utilities and repairs are present, but not out of control. Low interest expense suggests you're not heavily leveraged. And then NOI is 18%, is solid for a childcare operator. Your core business is producing profit. So,
Yes. Well, congratulations. I think we all want to have ChatGPT tell us that we're doing a great job.
right.
That Yeah, that's amazing. Did it give you any insights as to problem
Concerns?
areas? Yeah.
Yeah. So the depreciation, it says, is huge relative to the profit. Even though it's non-cash, it signals you've got major equipment and building improvements, which I just did build. I did add on a cafeteria and it's like 3,000 square feet. So um that area is very heavy for last year. Supplies and materials, which a lot of my stuff goes under supplies and materials because we use a lot of supplies and materials.
Mhm.
um, Office supplies and office expenses says it's heavy. So, I don't know, kind of everything goes, anything we purchase, kind of, it just goes under supplies. Like, I don't know.
Right. Hmm.
Continuing education. It's probably because I have this great coaching group that it
Yeah.
goes under continuing education. So,
Uh-huh.
and it does say could be great investment. So, that's
Okay.
probably from that. And then merchant fees, says card usage, maybe Pro Care, ACH fees, platform fees, um, late
Yeah,
fees.
so even though you're really healthy, it still gave you a couple things that you could look at to tighten it up better because you're like that's why Brian has switched to, for the most part, he wants people to do ACH for their payments to this group because the merchant fees we were spending a whole lot of unnecessary money, or was eating up parts of the profits, and it's just eating up resources that don't need to be when you can switch to ACH and have lower fees. So it showed an area, that he could tighten up. And so
Yeah.
it's telling you you're making a great profit. There's a lot of things that look great, but this expense is a little high for what's normal. This expense could be tightened up, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's still giving you some ideas for improvement. I happen to use one of the sample expenses just to go through the process, and it was telling me that even though I was making a profit, I had a high percentage of revenue going to payroll for the revenue that was coming in general. And so it pointed out, well, it could be a little bit deceiving because you are making a profit, but something is wrong. I'm feeling like your enrollment might be low. Like, what are your ratios, or how many open spaces do you have? So it was pointing out that even though you're making a profit, something is off because your numbers aren't like following traditional, the traditional benchmarks basically. And it gave me like a breakdown of like what my percentages were for the different categories, the percentage of revenue, and it asked me a bunch of questions to clarify some of the things that it raised for concerns. Does anybody else have something that they'd like to share, like something surprising it pointed out, or maybe it asked you a question that you hadn't thought of? And that might not be the case because I think a lot of us use sample numbers.
So
Okay.
I used my P&L, and
Uh-huh.
ChatGPT says we're pretty strong, and our labor ratio is really solid. Our leases are a little bit high for industry standard, but it could vary based on where we are. And the one glaring thing is that the owners are not taking out enough money out of the business.
Ah,
So that was
yeah.
interesting. They're like, you
One
have it, you should be taking it.
one of my clarifying questions, of course, my I use fictional data, but it asked me, is our owner salaries, or owner draws included in the payroll expense?
Mm.
Because if they're
Right.
not, the numbers that, or the analysis that I've spit back at you could be off because I don't know how those the owner payments or the owner payroll type of stuff is categorized.
Yeah.
So like, so it asked me clarifying questions so it could give me a better response around the
Mhm.
next time around. So if you guys use the sample data, this is an exercise just to show you how to do it, but when you go and do this with your own actual numbers, and I hope that you do, and at least estimates of your actual numbers, it might ask you some questions like that. And the more of a conversation that you have back and forth, the better response you're going to get now, or the better advice or insight you're going to get. And sometimes, like, you might, just like I said, you might know, oh, I'm making a profit. I've got 6.2% profit, or 16.2, I think is what this was. But I didn't realize that I was spending 13% more in the payroll category that I should have been spending, with my fictional data, according to industry benchmarks. And there could be a reason for that. Maybe I want lower ratios than my state requires. Maybe I want higher quality teachers than my state requires. Maybe um, somebody who's on salary is out on sick leave, for an operation, and I have to have temporary staff. So, I'm paying a little bit more than I should because I'm paying a salary, their sick leave pay, and I'm also have another staff member to cover their duties while on site. You know what I'm saying? So there could be reasons for areas of concern that it brings up. So it really helps you to analyze that type of stuff. Now, the next prompt is using the P&L categories above, identify the top potential profit leaks or overspend areas and give me why it might be high, 3 possible causes in a childcare business, and 3 specific things to check this week. And then give me a short list of titled questions to ask my bookkeeper or CPA. So go ahead and copy that prompt and paste it in. If you want more insight, you could ask, you could give it your average weekly enrollment or your rough staffing hours, any recent changes to, certain categories, and that will give you even bigger insight. If you're using your actual numbers, I would suggest giving it more actual facts. But if you're using the sample data to go through the process, just go ahead and copy the first part of the prompt. So I'm going to do that as well. And we'll give you just like 3 or 4 minutes to do this and read through what it tells you.
Sandy, while everybody's working on that, can I ask a quick question? It's kind of not related to the activity we're doing, but I just kind of want your insight. I just pulled my P&L, but I'm noticing that it's not accurate because my accountant has my mortgage, property insurance, and taxes on a different, I guess the liabilities part of it. So should I add that to my how would I be able to get a more accurate picture? Because what I'm doing right now is not accurate because all that is not a part of the numbers here.
Is that part of the business P&L? Is it a personal expense or is it on your balance sheet?
It's on my balance sheet.
Okay. So I might also, I would post your P&L and then type up an explanation under that. And if you press control and enter while you're in a chat in ChatGPT, it doesn't automatically enter it and send it to GPT to give you a response, so you can like press a line, and start typing on the next line. But I would say something like, just tell it exactly what you told me. Not included on this P&L are payments that I make for my mortgage. My mortgage is included on my balance sheet, and you could even upload your balance sheet or give it your balance sheet as well, so it can understand that. But say that it does affect my budget, or it does affect my expenses because I'm making this payment, but it's reflected on my balance sheet because it is a liability until and it becomes an asset. You cross over that line. If that makes sense.
For everybody else's, or what? Like for example, is yours part of your P&L or is it on your balance sheet?
Well, I had a lease payment, so I didn't have that scenario. But do you see right here?
Yeah.
If you click that plus sign, you can upload documents. So you could upload both your P&L and your balance sheet, and just tell ChatGPT this. And ChatGPT knows more about accounting than I do.
Okay.
I'm just showing you how to analyze it, like analyze my P&L for dummies using ChatGPT. Because it did give me some insight, or even with my fictional data, it gave me something to look for, things that are concerning that I might not have seen by just looking at numbers. Because ChatGPT is like, oh, you're spending 13% more in payroll than a company with this revenue typically does. You know what I mean? So it knows like other information that I don't know, and it can give me insight to talk to my accountant about, or to get clarification from a professional that knows. Because sometimes you go into these appointments and you don't even know what to ask, right?
Yeah.
And so this way it gives you a little bit more of hands on that steering wheel, driving your financial journey or, whatever. It gives you a little bit more insight. It makes you more informed, which allows you to make better decisions.
Got
So
it.
I would just tweak the prompt and include both of those things.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And again, I do want to stress I am not a financial advisor or an accountant, but I need help understanding the numbers myself. Like I know how to read a P&L, but I wouldn't necessarily know all of the benchmarks or how one expense category might influence something else. Or even that was a brilliant question to ask. How does this impact? Because I'm spending money on my mortgage every month, but it's not reflected in my P&L. So how does this impact my analysis from ChatGPT? So you're already asking the right questions. So just talk to ChatGPT like it's a person. You could even say, I don't understand. Let me explain again. You know what I mean? And like it'll go back and forth with you and give you some insight. Okay, so ChatGPT told me 5 potential profit leaks, payroll and taxes, why it might be high. So payroll normally falls between 50 and 60%, and I'm at 63. And it tells me that if I reduce payroll, I could increase my quarterly profit by $17,000. And possible causes. Maybe this is happening in your business, and these are things that you should check if those things aren't happening. And then food costs, why those might be high. It's not really high, but it's, just slightly over. Maintenance and repairs, why it might be high. It's not extremely high, but this category, it says often hides inefficiencies. That's telling, because sometimes we react to repairs rather than maintain things. Like you have a big expense to completely replace something because it broke versus fixing something because you caught it early. You know what I'm saying? So it's giving me some insight as to why it's my fictional data, why some categories might be high, and then questions to ask my bookkeeper. So that way I can understand things better. So wow, there's a lot of questions that gave me to ask. And from a chief financial officer perspective, my 16.2 profit margin is healthy. It's not a struggling center, but the biggest profit opportunity usually comes from being more efficient in these areas: payroll, supply and purchasing, and preventing small operational links. So even tightening just a few of these areas could add 20 to 40K in annual profit without even increasing enrollment. So this is showing me that I need to be more efficient in my expense tracking and my spending, and just knowing what's going on in my business so things don't get out of control, because I think everybody would be happy with an extra, 20, 30, $40,000 in their pocket at the end of the year, right? So just going through this exercise is giving me some insight on how I can maybe try to keep some of that in my pocket. Oh, then it looks, it gives me suggestions of more things I can do, or it can do for me. Now, that's not necessarily part of the exercise. I'm going to go back over to the exercise, and then it gives us a third prompt. So based on the P&L, create a 30-day profit protection plan with 3 quick wins that I can do in 7 days, 3 things that might take a month or so, and a longer term recommendation. And then for each action, include an owner, a deadline, and what success looks like. Keep it realistic for a busy childcare owner. So I'm going to copy and paste that prompt in and see what it tells me. You guys do the same, and I'm going to ask for some shares. I'm going to give us about 2 minutes to read it, and then I'll come back and ask for some shares. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see all your faces. And I just was able to, kind of skim through my response from the sample data that I use. And I am wondering if anybody got any interesting uh, tidbits of advice uncovered. And it can be whether or not you used your own data or sample data, because even looking at the sample data, I'm like, oh, that's a cool plan. Just like one of the suggestions was just stop ordering anything for 1 month or not 1 month, 1 week. There's a 1 week moratorium on ordering. So we have time to go through our inventory, see what we have in stock. We can keep a stock list. We know, what we have, like an inventory supply list. We know how many sheets of purple construction paper we have so we don't run out during Valentine's week or whatever. And so that way we don't over order. We can be more efficient with our ordering. And just that simple suggestion, I don't know if I would have thought of inventorying all of my certain supplies. I would have just eyeballed it, like, oh yeah, there's some glue sticks in there somewhere. And then I'm going to end up with 3 cases of glue sticks because I didn't go in the other closet and see, oh, we already ordered some last month. So I think that it prompted in my mind an idea to create a system for being more intentional and tracking the supply inventory. Because I don't know if a lot of teachers are like the typical husband who opens the refrigerator and is like, do we have any ketchup? Where's the ketchup? I can't find the ketchup. And then of course, they've looked everywhere, they don't see it, and then you just go in and pick it up because you can see it. So that little activity that it suggested that I do reminded me of that, because sometimes teachers are like, we don't have any, glue sticks, or we don't have any more silver sequins, whatever it is, and just because they weren't looking in the right place. And so if you do have an inventory list, it can help increase the efficiency in the supply ordering. So I wouldn't have thought of it. So I'm looking for a couple of volunteers. I am going to ask you, Tafta, because I know you used real numbers, but I want somebody else who hasn't gone already, to be brave and share. Okay,
I'll be
Charlotte's
brave.
going to be my person. Okay, Charlotte's going to be my person. Tafta, I'm going to ask for you next.
Mm.
Thank you, Charlotte. And
So
you know what? I 1 second. I called Charlotte out a couple of years ago at the live conference because every single time I speak and she's there, she gives feedback, she nods, she participates, she answers questions, and I appreciate that so much about her.
Say
Hey,
it louder for the
Cindy.
people in the back.
Cindy, I missed the last prompt.
Oh, it's prompt number 3 on the
Okay.
document.
Okay.
Go ahead, Charlotte.
Okay,
what
I'm
surprised
sorry.
you think?
So I put in for all 3 centers and I used real numbers. I told them we're licensed for 468 children. Our current FTE for all 3 centers is 308, which means that we are at 65.8% enrollment. So of course that is our biggest drawback, right? So it says that if we just do, what is it? I just saw it. Hold on. Well, typical healthy childcare centers operate at 85 to 95 capacity. So you're likely have significantly unused revenue potential, which I mean, I think Kay and I are definitely, we know this.
Right.
And so if you just enroll, it just said, well, the good news says that even at 66% capacity, your business almost broke even. So imagine if we did more, we could maybe get a bonus.
Yeah, exactly. So that really can give you some incentive. And I know Kay's happy to hear about like, I think it's really, really awesome that you guys are on this call together, director and owner, because you're both kind of getting some insight and both working on this big picture item. If you as a director have some insight as to where you stand financially, it can really help you drive results
True.
for the owner, and
Yeah.
you can become a little bit more, in tune in a partnership type of
Yeah.
thing. So
Yeah.
I love that you had that insight.
So filling just half of the empty spots, 80 children, would increase profit dramatically. So that was
Yes. Yeah, dramatically. So it gave you your action plan, and it is kind of obvious, in your case
true.
that, that
Yes.
the
Yep.
revenue is down because you have a lot of enrollment spots,
Mm-hmm.
but it did give you an accurate answer based on the information that you put in. And but
Yes,
some people
ma'am.
might have more of, hidden
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
or
No, no, no.
outside the
Right.
box
For sure.
issues.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, Tefta, but I thought that you were using real numbers, and you're usually willing to share. So, is there anything that stood out to you as far as the leaks or the action plan to fix your leaks?
Well, my chat said there was an interruption in the stream, so it was just, so I had to
Oh,
refresh it. So just give me a
okay.
second.
No, no worries. If anybody else has any input, questions, thoughts about the process? Okay, I'm going to share my screen again real quick. And Tefta, you can interrupt me if it does come back, but if it
Okay.
doesn't, it's okay. I know tech things happen. I just appreciate you being willing to share and participate. It's hard to do sometimes. Okay, so I'm going to come back to the original document that I shared. I did give you the example just for the purpose of going through the exercise and practicing doing it. But then at the bottom, there is a little action for you to take. So what I would like you to do, and this is homework, I'm not going to come and ask you for your homework, but it is really important that you know where you are financially. And maybe you're on this call and you're like, yeah, I'm a whiz at finances. I'm doing great. I don't need this information. I'm here to help people. And the majority of people that are in our university do struggle in this area at least a little bit. Okay. So they need some more insight. So I would like you to analyze it. And even if all you learn is what TAFTA learned, that you are profitable and you're doing a lot of things right, there might be a little tweaking you can do, but you're doing great. And Charlotte, you kind of came back with a similar response, like, okay, you broke even, it could be better, but it was the response that you expected, right? Based on what you already knew about your business. So that confirms that you're on track. If it gives you a response that you expect, it confirms that you know what's going on. If you get some oddball ideas, it might give you insight as to ways that you can improve it. So I want you to actually do this exercise with your real numbers at some point this week, and then I want you to decide an action that you're going to take based on the exercises. Choose one action you're going to take and write it here. What is the action? What is the deadline? Who's going to help you with it? How are you going to measure it? Okay.
Okay, I've
So
got mine.
okay, go ahead, Tafta.
Okay, so the 3 quick wins, that's what the prompt was, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was whatever number
There's
3
the
was.
seven
Yeah,
day.
3.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep, 3 quick
So
wins and
it
taking
said to
actions.
stop schedule drift and payroll, make sure there's no overtime, overlaps, extra floaters, without hurting ratios. It says to pull like the last 2 pay periods, do a daily compare, same week rule kind of thing. Number 2 was put purchases behind 1 week. Stop leak spending and fix messy coding. So a lot of that's probably me because I get Amazonnesia sometimes. And I'm like, just accept the llama when it shows up.
Yeah, yeah.
um, and then what we talked about earlier was the merchant fees. And that
Uh-huh.
was the 7 days. And then the 14 to 30 is payroll structure reset without chaos. Um, clean up categories, set budgets to match enrollment. So still the supplies, the office supplies, the repairs, and the small equipment. repairs and maintenance. Longer term recommendation is the depreciation replacement reserve. Build a depreciation replacement reserve, a cash plan.
Right. So,
Yeah.
and based on what it spit out to you, does it make sense to you? Does it sound like these are logical things? Like, I know that the or the depreciation one might be a little bit off because like you just did a build and it doesn't understand everything that went on with your renovations, but
Yeah, and Michael on my coaching call, I think last week or the week before, we talked about he talked about the big beautiful bill where you can have your buildings reassessed for depreciation, something. I have it in my notes somewhere, but he
oh
told me to
yeah,
ask my CPA about it.
yeah, because I
It's
think you
kind of
can get
like
like
I
more
guess they
depreciation
reassess
faster or something.
everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So what I'm hoping, and I don't mean to cut you off, I've got 3 minutes left on the
you're good.
call. Okay. So I kind of want to do a little bit of a wrap up. What I hope is that you see that you can use ChatGPT for more than making cute pictures or, and AI for more than making cute pictures. You can kind of use it as a consultant sometimes. It never is going to fully replace um, actual experts who can understand variations in markets and situations and things like this, but it's going to give you a good overview, generic insight. And sometimes it's like I said, it's either going to be confirmation that you're on the right track, or it's going to be eye-opening, like, oh, I never thought of that before. Okay, so I would suggest that you do it so you just do have a better understanding of your numbers, your P&L, and your you can add your balance sheet if needed. Um, One thing, and I see your hand, Faith, I'm going to come to you in just a second. Um, I do have this second exercise. We don't have time to do it, but a lot of the times, one of the ways that we do raise our revenue is by raising our tuition. But a lot of times, at least the first few times you do it, we tend to have this paralyzing fear, and we don't know how to communicate with parents because they're going to give pushback. And so this second page gives you like kind of a walkthrough, just like I did before, a walkthrough of prompts that you can put in to have ChatGPT kind of analyze why you might need to increase your tuition, how you can communicate this to parents, how you can respond to objections that they might have, and kind of create a rollout plan. Okay, so that's there as a resource for you. It was meant to fill time just in case the other one didn't take up the time, but just know that that's there. And I do encourage you, if you do need to increase your tuition, to go through that exercise. Faith, go ahead.
The only other thing I wanted to add was that, you can do this and ask what if scenarios, right?
Oh,
So,
yes.
what if I built a cafeteria and my expenditures were X? What if I did a leasehold improvement? What if I merged two centers? What if I was to purchase another one? Here's my balance sheet. You can even use it to analyze financials if you are looking at another center, right? Or analyze your budgets. So everything Cindy taught you today can be used for so many things. Think outside of the box a little bit. When you have information that you need to be able to interpret quickly or maybe clearer, everything she just showed you how to do can be used in other scenarios, right? Um, Not just your P&L after the fact, but your budget
I'm not.
looking forward, or P&Ls from previous years, and how has your business changed, and project forward. If I made this change, what would that do to my P&L this year or next year? So think about running some what if scenarios using this as well.
Yeah, and another thing that you can do to get better output out of AI is when you do a prompt, say before you complete this task, ask me any questions that where you need more information in order to give me the best response. So you can tell it like, this is what I want you to come up with. This is information I'm giving you so that way you can, give me back a response. But did I miss anything? Do you need more information before you can give me the best response? And it can really, really increase the accuracy of your response. And one thing I love, Blessing is working on a lot of AI projects for us right now. And one thing that she keeps saying over and over is like, we're all using AI as like this silly little time waster with the cute videos and, graphic effects. But really, childcare business owners need AI that's going to help them make money, improve systems, or save time. So she's been like saying that to me like for the past 2 months, like this is my passion. And I took that to say, okay, I need to like simplify something and show you guys how to use AI in a different way that's not just cute AI images on the internet, which are awesome. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not knocking that, but I'm saying those are extras. This is essential to understand your numbers. Does that make sense? Okay. And it's near and dear to my heart because I feel like that was one of the areas I needed to grow the most with my center, is just becoming more financially literate and understanding what the numbers meant. So I hope that this has helped you. And I hope that you will take this, if you use the sample data, that you will plug in your own and do a little bit of a deeper dive and ask it some questions, interact with it, and maybe come up with a couple of action plans you can do on your own. Okay.
This was fabulous,
That's it,
Cindy. Thank you.
All right. And we have another next week. I'm also teaching on AI, and I forget what the topic is off the top of my head. It is, using AI to analyze your competitors to increase your marketing and your message, like to improve it. So that's what we're talking about next week, is using AI to analyze your competitors. So I'm going to show you, we're going to go through some exercises and help you understand your own market. So that's what we're doing next week. Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you guys for staying on a couple extra minutes, and I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Cindy. Great job.
Thanks.